God, Jen. So we're all gonna laugh when he says.
Can I get a screen view? Does this camera have a screen view?
I actually don't know how.
Okay.
I know how to work technology. I don't know. Do you think he'll mind? And I was gonna say, and another discussion. You were really good.
Well, hello guys. I am Carolina Figueroa, and I am the moderator for this session. And I hope you guys had a wonderful lunch. And I am here to present James Rowland from University of
No, Ani.
Valencia.
It's Valencia. Well, at least my adopted home is Valencia College.
You don't want him here.
So he's going to be discussing rhetorical analysis of internet freedom.
Hello, everyone. First, I'd like to take a quick survey of the audience, which hopefully gets a better result than some of the trolling I was getting in an attempt to drive by last night. But how many of us have broadband internet in the home? Can I get a quick show of hands? Yeah, that's more about what I was expecting, because last night it was everybody was trolling me, so well, can't let us. How many of us are taking advantage of the highly interactive multimedia things that we have access to, like Amazon Instant Video, Netflix, YouTube? Yes, me too. I mean, that's one of those things. They actually happen to go productivity with Netflix streaming on the television. Productivity. It does bring to light the question, considering that bandwidth-intensive applications are not cheap for providers. What sort of rights do we as consumers have to expect for playing on their playground, even though we do pay a monthly fee to them as it is? Just look at the shareholders involved. Of course, we have, as I kind of alluded to, the network providers. We have the content creators. Of course, you have to look at the consumers as a shareholder, because without us to spend money, they wouldn't be going anywhere whatsoever. And we also have those involved in making regulations and policies. Just what sort of balance should be made in this new hyper-connected digital world? One proposed set of answers to this question was outlined in a speech given by Michael Powell. To help us see what the purpose was in giving this speech, I propose using the techniques of dramatic criticism to look at the context and text of the speech. Come on, baby, you know you want to look.
Did you turn it on? Is it in the?
Thank you, Jen. I'm a little rusty. It's been a while since I've actually given a presentation other than a workshop at campus. So. There's a little bit back into it. First, touching on the context of the speech. To who, Michael Powell, at the time the speech was given, was the chairman of the FCC, and currently he is the president of the National Cable and Telecommunications Association. He was also Chief of Staff of the Justice Department's Antitrust Division. He earned a Juris Doctorate from Georgetown, and he has a degree in government from William & Mary. The speech was given at the Silicon Flatiron Symposium by the Silicon Flatiron Center for Law, Technology, and Entrepreneurship at the University of Colorado Law School in Boulder. They hold a yearly conference with a focus on the digital broadband migration since 2004. Their audience would be primarily those who have an interest in the industry, so private sector, public sector, as well as any students at University of Colorado or faculty that would be interested in attending and hearing this, being part of this discussion. Let's see, now, while technology has grown leaps and bounds since this speech was given in February 2004, I was just looking back over and it was like, wow, that really does make it 10 years ago. It doesn't seem like 2004 should be 10 years ago. Say that the discussion of the law is still valid. With the recent court decision overturning the FCC's policies that were kind of based on some of the principles that Michael Powell proposed. The reason for this speech was the concern then and now, and that was how a set of common ideals, a tiered system of favored data could arise, allowing service providers to penalize or limit content providers. Since, just for a quick idea, how would you all feel if, say, on top of Netflix's monthly membership fee, you had to pay your ISP another $10 to $15, or you get to get Netflix period, or to get Netflix at a speed where it's actually useful? just kind of to give you a little bit of an idea of what may be looking at. When looking at how Powell structured his speech, he hit on 6 major areas. The first would be setting his vision for the broadband internet, which would say you mainly want to continue the digital migration that exists. And his words would be our movement from a slow, conventional analog world to a digital world that promotes incredible new opportunities for faster, more reliable, and higher quality communications. The move to this digital world comes with radical transformations, but its benefits will be felt by every American. And the FCC's position is to promote investment in the diverse and faster, more sophisticated internet and related technologies without hopefully coming in and doing strong-handed regulations. Which, of course, to help achieve this vision, it's not something that will be reached strictly by regulation or by wishful thinking. It has to come as a hard work by all the shareholders involved, including us. Which you cannot also, in achieving this vision, you can't focus strictly on building infrastructure. I mean, just imagine if we had the infrastructure we do now is the broadband internet, but all the web page content was back in what we had in 1994. So of course we have your little Nyan Cat GIFs, a little old-fashioned GIFs, right text, right background, but there's not really something to take huge advantage of that network. Broadband networks are impressive generators of economic food, but without fuel, which is content, they won't function. Companies are eager to feed the consumer demand for content, and consumers having access to broadband technology and the freedom to choose what they access isn't charity, it's good business. The next area that he touched on, which isn't, spend a huge amount, but is maintaining openness, which is saying that generally the freedom does exist to have this vision come true. There haven't been any major, so egregious violations of the ideas of internet freedom that the government would have to come in and say, we're breaking everything up like they did the phone companies. Now, steering clear of potential obstacles, it would be continuing along the idea the internet needs to be open to encourage competitions for applications and services rather than ultimately favoring one over the other. Say a company is saying like, oh, I'll pay this provider to get premium, faster connections to these people so more people will use my products and everyone else will get left by the wayside. And this is where service providers can't, some examples of where service providers can limit or have limited would be, there are some that say like, you can't have a private server on your network, you can't have a VPN on your network. You have some service providers that have said, oh no, we don't allow home Wi-Fi's on their network, even though I think those policies have thankfully declined, but some of them, they do have technical reasons based on how much of a demand and drain on their network to be if you're running a home server. Oh yeah, I just got that. That's what it was. And this is where, yeah, there haven't really been any major abuses yet, but you can easily see where there's the potential for that slope to go sliding down very, very quickly. And this is where he starts outlining his 4 principles or 4 areas that consumers should expect and demand of their fellow shareholders for internet freedom. The first would be the freedom to access the legal content of their choice when they want and pretty much from where they want. So it's not going to have additional fees on part of the ISP. So I mean, you still have to pay for Netflix, but you're not going to have to pay the ISP to use Netflix beyond what your stated bandwidth is. Use of that, freedom to use applications. Now this is one, part of me was where it's like, well, content and applications, they can get pretty close, but an easy one now is looking at the mobile phone network, saying what you can use with those applications and choosing the applications. And say if one developer was paying for sponsored data, which I know is another one recently in the news, it says like, oh no, you don't have to worry about data. What is it going to do to all these other application developers that may not have the money to say, I want to buy this data off you so your consumers can get it for free? So it's kind of, you can have that squelching out a lot of potential opportunity by having a system like that. Because it's like, if we can't bring a product to market, why would we continue to develop? Freedom to attach personal devices. This would, I mean, right now we have internet TVs, DVD players with internet connection, everything that had connected into the idea of the home network. So you're getting all these devices consumers should feel free and be able to, without the ISP saying, no, we don't allow those devices on our network. And this is one that really was a good idea, but the FCC, I would say, dropped the ball, which is the freedom to obtain. Oh, you're good. That one quick.
I know.
You freedom to. Oh, it's just the two of us. Can we go a little bit longer?
Yeah. I mean, oh, he's here though.
Oh, he's here?
Yeah.
Okay. Then.
I'm sorry.
No worries. Freedom to obtain service plan information, which is basically, they should be able to make meaningful decisions based on what they can service plan. What I'm going to do is skip over the rest. I'll skip for a lot of this, I guess. Let's see. I'll get to the math. Those are the key benefits of preserving internet freedom. And of course, consumers are a key driving force. Now, I just wanted to talk about the pentad. This may be one of those things some commentators will know, but the pentad is a form of using speech analysis for dramatic criticism, which would look at the act, what's taking place, the agent, well, scene, where, what, in what other context is going around, the agent, who's doing it, the agency, how are they going to accomplish what they're setting out in their speech, and the purpose, why are they giving that speech. If we were to look at a potential pentad for Powell in this speech, or say his act is to explain and justify the case for internet freedom. The scene was the Silicon Flatiron Symposium in 2004, Michael Powell. His audience would be, since they were movies and fakers, his audience would be his agency in that case. And I would say his purpose is to foreshadow and measure potential future reactions to FCC policies and assess if they are needed. Now, I'm just going to jump right to the conclusion idea rather than going into detailed explanation of that pentad. If I were to summarize the overall motive, Powell's speech, it would be testing the waters on the key ideas of consumer freedom. The use of pentetic analysis helps reinforce this idea and why the audience would have actually wanted to identify with the message. It also addresses some of the questions for the idea of regulation, motive behind, and so on. The challenge is still going on today. It's still going through court challenges, just recently overturned in an appeal court. There's still the potential for different abuses arising, because I know there's also this case of the topic like I mentioned earlier was the cell phones and using sponsored data. Potential future obstacles, it just depends on what bandwidth, whether pipelines and so on opens up. And also, of course, the full conference paper, which goes into a lot more detail on the pentadic analysis and also some thematic analysis, is on the conference website. Thank you.
We started kind of late. So, G-Hay, would you want to come do yours?
I can go last.